Let me tell you something. Most people avoid hearing, this is not going to be comfortable. And that's on purpose. Because comfort is exactly what's been holding you back. I'm not here to hype you up for 5 minutes so you can go back to the same habits. I'm here to shake you, to challenge you, to force you to look at what you've been avoiding. If that makes you uneasy, good. Growth doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes wrapped in truth. Most people spend their lives running from hard conversations with themselves. They stay busy, they stay distracted, they tell themselves they'll deal with it later, but later keeps getting pushed back. And years go by. Let me ask you something. How long are you going to keep doing that? How long are you going to let the same patterns repeat while you pretend nothing's wrong? This isn't about motivation. This is about transformation. And transformation starts when you're finally willing to hear what you've been dodging. Here's the truth most people don't want to face. The problem isn't out there. It's not your boss, your past, your upbringing, or your situation. Weakness isn't outside you. It's living inside you. And until you take responsibility for that, nothing changes. It's easier to point fingers than to look in the mirror. It's easier to blame circumstances than to admit you've been tolerating behaviors that keep you small. Think about it. Two people can go through the same hardship. One grows stronger, the other stays stuck. What's the difference? It's not luck, it's ownership. One takes responsibility, the other waits for excuses to save them. Victim mentality feels safe because it removes pressure, but it also removes power. The moment you say, this is on me, that's the moment you take control back. And control is where strength begins. Comfort is the enemy you keep feeding, whether you realize it or not. Every time you choose the easy option, every time you avoid discomfort, you're training weakness to stay. Comfort feels good now, but it costs you later. It costs you discipline, it costs you growth, it costs you the person you could have become. Look around. Comfort has never built anything great. Athletes don't grow in comfort. Leaders aren't forged in comfort. Confidence isn't built in comfort. Comfort is a soft bed that slowly puts your ambition to sleep. And the longer you stay there, the harder it is to wake up. You don't need more ease. You need more resistance, because resistance is what strengthens you. Here's the hard line you need to hear. Either you remove the weak or it owns you. There is no middle ground. Weakness doesn't stay quiet. If you don't confront it, it takes over. It decides for you. It chooses comfort when you need courage. It chooses excuses when you need action. And one day, you wake up wondering how you ended up so far from the life you wanted. This is a fork in the road moment. One path leads to discipline, discomfort, and growth. The other leads to comfort, excuses, and regret. You don't get to avoid the choice. You only get to decide which pain you'll live with. Remove the weak now or live under its control later. Weakness is not a lack of ability. Let's clear that lie right now. You are not weak because you aren't talented enough. That excuse has stopped more people than failure ever did. There are countless examples of people who started with nothing special but built something extraordinary. What they had wasn't talent. It was persistence. It was discipline. It was the refusal to quit. Most people don't fail because they can't do it. They fail because they convince themselves they can't before they even try. They see someone ahead of them and assume they're gifted, forgetting the hours, the struggle, the setbacks it took to get there. Ability grows with effort. Confidence grows with action. Weakness grows when you sit back and wait for proof before you move. Real weakness shows up as delay, avoidance, and excuses. It's not loud, it's subtle. It sounds reasonable. I'll start tomorrow. I'm just tired today. Now's not the right time. And before you know it, days turn into months. Months turn into years. Weakness lives in those small daily decisions where you choose comfort over progress. Pay attention to your patterns. What do you keep putting off? What do you avoid when it gets uncomfortable? That's where the weak is hiding. Strong people don't feel different. They act different. They move even when they don't feel ready. Weakness waits for the perfect moment. Strength creates momentum with imperfect action. Emotional weakness is louder than physical weakness. You can be physically strong and still controlled by your feelings. Feelings say rest. Discipline says show up. Feelings say it's hard. Discipline says do it anyway. Every time you let emotions decide your actions, weakness gets stronger. Think about it. How many times have you known what to do but didn't do it because you didn't feel like it? That's emotional weakness. And it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you haven't trained that muscle yet. Emotional strength is built by acting despite discomfort, by choosing what's right over what's easy. That's just who I am, is one of the most dangerous lies you can rehearse. It sounds harmless, but it locks you into a small identity that excuses your limits. You are not fixed. You are not finished. You are shaped by what you repeatedly do. Every habit you tolerate becomes part of your identity, and every habit you change reshapes who you are. Here's the warning you can't ignore. What you ignore grows stronger. Weakness is like rust. It spreads quietly, or like a parasite, feeding on delay and indecision. The longer you avoid it, the deeper it digs in. This is your moment to stop ignoring it, to face it, to remove it. Because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. And you already know that. Weakness always sends the bill. It may not show up today, it may not show up tomorrow, but make no mistake, it always collects. Every excuse you make, every hard thing you avoid, every time you choose comfort over discipline, you are putting that cost on a tab. And one day, that tab comes due. Not all at once, slowly, quietly, in missed chances, in stalled progress, in that feeling deep down that you should be further along than you are. People think weakness is harmless because it feels easy in the moment. Skipping the work today doesn't feel like a big deal. Avoiding the conversation feels like peace. Putting things off feels like relief. But weakness charges interest. What starts small becomes expensive over time. Lost time, lost confidence, lost belief in yourself. And the worst part is this, you don't even realize how much you've paid until you look back and see how far behind you are. Weakness doesn't just cost results. It destroys confidence from the inside out. Every time you tell yourself you'll do something and don't follow through, you send yourself a message, a quiet one, a dangerous one. The message is, I can't trust myself. And confidence can't survive without self-trust. Think about it. Confidence isn't built by winning big moments. It's built by keeping small promises. When weakness wins, those promises break. You stop believing your own words. You hesitate more. You doubt yourself more. You start lowering expectations just to avoid disappointment. That's how weakness quietly erodes you. Not with one big failure, but with 1,000 small retreats. And then there's the momentum you never build. This is the cost people rarely talk about. Progress compounds. Small actions stack. Effort adds up, but only if you show up consistently. Weakness interrupts that process. It resets the counter every time you quit early. It keeps you starting over instead of moving forward. Look at any success story. The difference isn't one heroic moment. It's consistency over time. Athletes train daily. Leaders show up daily. Strong habits compound like interest. But weakness keeps you stuck at zero. Always planning, always preparing, never building momentum. And momentum is everything. Once it's gone, everything feels harder than it needs to be. Here's the truth that hits hardest. Regret is heavier than discipline. Discipline hurts now, regret hurts forever. Discipline asks for effort, discomfort, and focus. Regret asks for nothing at first. But later, it takes everything. It takes peace. It takes pride. It takes sleep at night when you're left with thoughts of what you should have done. Talk to anyone who waited too long. They don't say, I wish I rested more. They say, I wish I tried. They say, I wish I didn't let fear decide. The pain of discipline fades. The pain of regret stays. That's the trade. And you choose it every day, whether you realize it or not. So why do most people never move the weak? Because weakness feels safe when it's familiar. Familiarity creates comfort, even when it's harmful. People stay in routines they hate because at least they know them. They stay stuck because stuck feels predictable and predictability feels safe. You can know something is holding you back and still cling to it because it's familiar. That's the comfort loop. Same habits, same results, same excuses, nothing changes, but nothing scares you either. Breaking that loop requires courage. And most people don't fail because they can't do better. They fail because they won't step into the unknown. Fear of discomfort is the real prison. Not failure, not difficulty, discomfort. The body avoids pain. The mind looks for ease, and weakness uses that against you. It convinces you that discomfort is danger, but discomfort is growth. Muscles grow by tearing. Confidence grows by stretching. Strength grows by resistance. Avoiding discomfort feels smart in the short term. In the long term, it traps you. You don't grow because growth requires pressure. And pressure is exactly what weakness teaches you to run from. If you don't challenge yourself, you shrink. If you don't push, you stay the same. And staying the same is just another way of falling behind. Then comes the deeper fear. Who am I without this? Weakness becomes part of identity. The excuses, the habits, the version of yourself you've gotten used to. Letting go of weakness can feel like losing yourself. But what you're really losing is the version of you that's been holding you back. Growth always requires an identity shift. You can't become stronger while clinging to the old self. You can't move forward while dragging the past with you. That fear is normal, but staying weak to protect an old identity is a high price to pay. You weren't meant to stay who you were. You were meant to evolve. Here's the hard truth. The cage is open, you just won't walk out. Weakness feels like a prison, but most of the doors are unlocked. The chains are habits, not steel. Excuses, not walls. The way out has always been there. It's just uncomfortable. So let me challenge you. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for confidence. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Walk out of the cage. Remove the weak, because the longer you stay, the more it costs. And deep down, you already know that. Stop waiting for motivation. Let me tell you something you need to hear clearly. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It shows up when things feel good and disappears the moment things get hard. If you keep waiting to feel ready, you'll stay stuck exactly where you are. Action does not follow motivation. Motivation follows action. Think about it. The days you feel the strongest aren't the days you waited around. They're the days you moved first. You showed up tired. You started without confidence. And once you moved, the energy came. Waiting keeps you frozen. Action creates momentum. Strong people don't wait to feel like it. They move because it needs to be done. And once you understand that, you stop negotiating with your moods and start building discipline. No one is responsible for fixing you. That might sound harsh, but it's actually freeing. No one is coming to save you. No perfect mentor, no perfect opportunity, no perfect timing. Waiting for someone else to change your life is one of the most dangerous delays you can make. Look around. Everyone who changed their life had the same realization. They stopped expecting rescue. They stopped blaming their past, their parents, their situation. They took ownership. Ownership is heavy, but it's powerful. The moment you accept that this is on you, you stop feeling helpless and start feeling capable. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's the doorway to control. Help is optional. Responsibility is not. You can get support, you can get guidance, you can learn from others, but at the end of the day, no one can do the work for you. No one can show up in your place. No one can hold the discipline for you. This is where people get it twisted. They think responsibility means pressure. It doesn't. It means freedom. When you own your choices, you own your future. When you stop blaming, you stop giving your power away. You realize that even if your situation isn't your fault, changing it is still your responsibility. And that realization changes everything. The moment you decide, everything changes. Not when conditions are perfect, not when fear disappears, The moment you decide, decision is the catalyst. Decision cuts through confusion. Decision ends negotiation. Once you decide, your actions follow. You've felt this before. That moment when something clicks, when you say, enough. That moment creates immediate control. You may not control everything, but you control your next step. And that's all progress ever requires. One clear decision followed by action. Now, let's talk about the process of removing the weak. It starts with awareness. Stop lying to yourself. Brutal honesty is the foundation of strength. You already know where you're weak. You feel it when you avoid things. You feel it when you make excuses. Awareness means calling it out without justifying it. No stories, no soft language, just truth. Next comes exposure. Do the thing you avoid. Fear loses power when you face it. Avoidance feeds weakness. Exposure starves it. Whether it's a hard conversation, a difficult task, or a personal habit, growth begins the moment you stop running. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's movement in the presence of fear. Then discipline. Act without emotion. Emotions are signals, not commands. You don't need to feel confident to act confident. You don't need to feel strong to act strong. Discipline means you do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. And every time you do, you weaken the weak. Consistency is where real change happens. Daily wins beat occasional effort every time. One workout doesn't change your body. One focused day doesn't change your life. But daily action compounds. Repetition builds identity. Small wins stacked over time create unshakable confidence. Finally, replacement. You don't remove weakness without replacing it. Empty space gets filled. If you remove bad habits and don't install better ones, weakness comes back stronger. Replace avoidance with action. Replace excuses with standards. Replace comfort with challenge. This is how strength becomes permanent. This is not about perfection. It's about commitment, awareness, exposure, discipline, consistency, replacement. Do this, and the weak doesn't stand a chance. Your feelings are not commands. Let me tell you something that can change how you live your life. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to obey it. Feeling tired doesn't mean you stop. Feeling afraid doesn't mean you turn around. Feeling unmotivated doesn't mean you quit. Feelings are information, not instructions. Most people let their emotions sit in the driver's seat. If they feel good, they move. If they feel bad, they stop. That's how weakness stays in control. Strong people feel the same fear, doubt, and resistance as everyone else. The difference is they don't let those feelings decide their actions. They acknowledge them and move anyway. Think about the times you were proud of yourself. You didn't feel ready. You acted first, and the strength came after. Mental toughness is trained, not given. Nobody is born with an unbreakable mindset. It's built the same way muscles are built, with repetition, with resistance, with showing up again and again when it would be easier not to. Every hard moment is a rep. Every uncomfortable decision is a rep. Every time you push through doubt, you get stronger. Look at anyone you admire for their resilience. They didn't wake up that way. They were tested, they failed, they kept going. They didn't quit when it hurt. They used the pain as training. Life will challenge you whether you want it to or not. Mental toughness is deciding to use those challenges instead of being crushed by them. You don't avoid hard moments. You train through them. Do it tired. Do it doubting. Do it anyway. This is where strength separates itself. Waiting until you feel perfect is weakness in disguise. Life doesn't wait until you're rested. Opportunities don't pause until you're confident. The work still needs to be done. Some of the most important wins in your life will come on days you didn't feel like showing up. Days you wanted to quit. Days you questioned yourself. Those are the days that matter most, because anyone can perform when it's easy. Strength is built when it's hard. Action in spite of doubt is the loudest proof of discipline. And every time you do it anyway, you silence the excuses a little more. Self-respect is built on kept promises. Not promises to others, promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and follow through, you deposit trust into yourself. Every time you don't, you withdraw from it. Confidence grows when you can rely on your own word. Think about it. How much do you trust yourself right now? That answer didn't come from nowhere. It came from patterns, from what you do when no one is watching. When you keep showing up, even quietly, self-respect grows. And once you respect yourself, weakness loses its grip. You don't quit on someone you respect. Now this leads to the real shift. You don't rise to goals. You fall to standards. Goals are nice. Standards are non-negotiable. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you live by. When things get hard, you don't magically rise to your hopes. You fall back on what you've trained. That's why people with big goals still fail. Their standards don't match their dreams. Strong people set standards for how they show up, how they work, how they respond to pressure. They don't wait for motivation. They operate by rules they don't break. Raise your standards, and your life has no choice but to follow. Strong people don't negotiate with weakness. They don't debate with excuses. They don't bargain with comfort. Weakness wants discussion. Strength wants action. The moment you start negotiating, you've already given it power. Decide what's non-negotiable in your life. Showing up, being disciplined, doing the work. Once it's a rule, there's no debate. You don't argue with gravity. You don't argue with your standards. You live by them. That's how strength becomes automatic. Become the person who doesn't quit, not because quitting isn't tempting, but because it's no longer an option. This is an identity shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone who stays. Identity drives behavior. When you believe deep down that quitting isn't who you are, your actions align. You still struggle, you still get tired, but you keep going. And over time, that identity becomes solid. You don't have to force it anymore. It's just who you are. Proof comes from daily action. Not words, not intentions, action. Confidence doesn't come from thinking about being strong. It comes from evidence, from showing up today, from doing the work today, from stacking one disciplined decision on top of another. Every day you act in alignment with your standards, you build proof, and proof builds belief. You stop hoping you're strong and start knowing it. That's the shift. That's the moment weakness loses its hold, not because you talked about change, but because you became it. Weakness never disappears forever. Let me be clear about that, because false expectations are dangerous. You don't defeat weakness once and walk away for good. This is a daily battle. Weakness waits. It watches. And the moment discipline leaves, it steps right back in. Not loudly, quietly, through small compromises. Strength is not something you earn once. It's something you maintain. Just like fitness, just like trust, just like respect. Miss one day, nothing happens. Miss a few, you feel it. Miss many, and you're back where you started, wondering how it slipped away. Weakness doesn't need you to fail big. It just needs you to relax. Winning today matters more than yesterday. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow is not promised. The only place strength exists is today. What you do today determines who you are tonight, and who you are tonight sets the tone for tomorrow. Strong lives are built on daily decisions, not dramatic moments. Think about it. Nobody loses everything overnight. They stop showing up a little at a time. They skip one workout. They avoid one hard task. They allow one excuse. And those small choices stack. Strength works the same way. One disciplined decision today, one uncomfortable action today. That's how you stay sharp. Small daily decisions define strength. Not what you say, not what you plan, what you choose when no one is watching, when it would be easier to quit, when comfort is calling. That's where the battle was fought. And that's where it's won. Complacency is the enemy. The moment you think you've arrived, you start sliding backward. Strength requires vigilance, awareness, humility. You stay strong by respecting how easy it is to become weak again. not with fear, but with discipline. You don't panic. You stay consistent. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being alert. You don't let your guard down. You don't negotiate with excuses. You stay present. You stay intentional. And when weakness tries to creep back in, you recognize it immediately and shut it down. That's maturity. That's strength. Now listen closely. This is your moment. Not someday, not next week. Right now. Every word you've heard leads here. You are standing at a line between the old version of you and the person you could become. And lines like this don't stay open forever. No more waiting. Waiting has cost you enough. No more excuses. You already know where those lead. This is a moment of decision. Decide who you are today. Decide what you tolerate. Decide what you remove. Draw the line. On one side is comfort, excuses, and delay. On the other side is discipline, growth, and strength. You don't drift into the strong life. You choose it, and you choose it again tomorrow and the day after that. Let this be the moment you stop negotiating, the moment you stop hoping things will change on their own, the moment you take control back. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a decision. Remove the weak. Every excuse, every delay, every time. Not when it's easy, when it's necessary, not when you feel ready, when it matters. This is your life, your responsibility, your moment. Act now, not later, now.